Threat theories of leadership. Threat theories of leadership is theories that consider personal qualities and characteristics that differentiate leaders from non-leaders. Threat theories of leadership focus on personal qualities and characteristics. Based on threat theories leadership, there are several traits that may indicate the effectiveness of leadership. First is extroverted. Extroverted is someone who likes being around people and are able to assert themselves. Second is conscientious, someone who are disciplined and able to keep commitment they make. Third is open. Open is someone who are creative and flexible. One reason is that consciousness and extraversion are possibly related to leader self-efficacy, which explain most of the variance in subordinates' rating of leader performance. People are more likely to follow someone who is confident she is going in the right direction. Another trait that may indicate effective leadership is emotional intelligence, or EI. Advocates of EI argue that without it, a person can have outstanding training, a highly analytical mind, a compelling vision, and an endless supply for terrific ideas but still not make a great leader. A core component of EI is empathy. Empathetic leader can sense other needs, listen to what followers say and don't say, and read the reaction of others.
Hi, I'm Angel. So now I will explain to you what is authentic leadership. So authentic leadership is leaders who know who they are, know what they believe in and value, and act on those values and beliefs openly and candidly. Their followers would consider them to be ethical people. Authentic leadership is divided to ethical leadership, servant leadership, and trust and leadership. Now I will explain about ethical leadership. Ethical leadership interact at a number of junctures. Transformational leadership has ethical implications since these leaders change the way followers think. Charisma too has an ethical component. Unethical leaders use their charisma to exchange power over followers directed towards self-serving ends. Leaders who treat their followers with fairness, especially by providing honest, frequent, and accurate information, are seen as more effective. For ethical leadership to be effective, it's not enough for the leader to simply possess high moral character. Leader must be willing to express their ethical belief and pursue others to follow their standard. Follower must believe in both the leader and the overlying principle, even if they don't personally agree with every minor stance. Second is servant leadership. Servant leadership is a leadership style marked by going beyond the leader's own self-interest and instead focusing on opportunities to help followers grow and develop. They don't use power to achieve ends, they emphasize persuasion. Characteristic behavior including listening, emphasizing, persuading, accepting stewardship, and actively developing followers' potential is resulted in higher level of commitment to the supervisor, self-efficiency, and perception of justice, which all were related to organizational citizenship behavior. Servant leadership may be more prevalent and more effective in certain culture. When asked to draw image of leaders, for example, US subjected tend to draw them in front of the group, giving others to followers. Singaporeans tend to draw leader at the back of the group, acting more to gather a group opinion together and then unify them from the rear. This suggests the East Asian prototype is more like a servant leader, which might mean servant leadership is more effective in this culture. And last is trust and leadership. Trust is a positive expectation that another will not act opportunistically. Although you are completely in control of the situation, you are willing to take change that the other person will come through for you. Trust is a primary attribute associated with leadership. Breaking it can have serious adverse effect on a group performance. Followers who trust a leader are confident their right and interest will not be abused. Transformational leaders create support for their idea in part by arguing that their direction will be in everyone's best interest. People are unlikely to look up to or follow someone they perceive as dishonest or likely to take advantage of them. Transformational leaders do generate higher level of trust from their followers, which in turn is related to higher level of team confidence and ultimately higher level of team performance. How is trust developed? Trust isn't just about the leader. The characteristic of followers also influence its development. What key characteristics lead us to believe a leader trustworthy? Evidence has identified three: integrity, benevolence, and ability. Integrity refers to honesty and truthfulness. Integrity also means having consistency between what you do and say. Benevolence means the trusted person has your interest at heart, even if yours aren't necessarily in line with theirs. Caring and supportive behavior is part of the emotional bond between leader and followers. Ability encompasses an individual technical and interpersonal knowledge and skills. Even a highly principled person with the best intention in the world won't be trusted to accomplish a positive outcome for you if you don't have faith in his or her ability to get the job done. Does the person know what he or she is talking about? You're unlikely to listen to or depend on someone whose ability you don't believe in. Trust as a process. Trust propensity refers to how likely a particular employee is to trust a leader. Some people are simply more likely to believe others can be trusted. Trust propensity is closely linked to the personality trait of agreeableness. People with lower self-esteem are less likely to trust others. Time is the final component for building trust. We come to trust people based on observing their behavior over a period of time. Leaders need to demonstrate they have integrity, benevolence, and ability in situations where trust is important. Trust can be won in the ability domain by demonstrating competence. Leaders who break a psychological contract with workers, demonstrating they aren't trustworthy, will find employees are less satisfied and less committed, have a higher intent toward an offer, engage in less citizenship behavior, and have lower level of task performance. Leaders who betray trust are especially likely to be affiliated negatively by followers if there is already a low level of leader-member exchange. Once it is violated, trust can be regained, but only in certain situations and depending on the type of violation. If the cause is lack of ability, it is usually best to apologize and recognize you should have done better. When lack of integrity is the problem, apologize don't do much good. Regardlessness of the violation, saying nothing or refusing to confirm or deny guilt is never an effective strategy for regaining trust. Trust can be restored when we observe a conscious pattern of trustworthy behavior by the transgressor. However, if the transgressor used deception, trust never fully returns, not even after apologies, promises, and a consistent pattern of trustworthy action. What are the consequences of trust? Trust between supervisor and employee has a number of advantages. First, trust encourages taking risks. Whenever employees decide to deviate from the usual way of doing things or to take their supervisor word on a new direction, they are taking a risk. In both cases, a trusting relationship can facilitate that leap. Second, trust facilitates information sharing. One big reason employees fail to express concern at work is that they don't feel psychologically safe revealing their views. When managers demonstrate they will give employee idea a fair hearing, actively make change, employees are more willing to speak out. Third, trusting groups are more effective. When leaders set a trusting tone in group, members are more willing to help each other and extra effort, which increase trust. Members of mistrusting group tend to be suspicious of each other, constantly guard against exploitation, and restrict communication with others in the group. These actions tend to undermine and eventually destroy the group. Fourth, trust enhances productivity. The bottom line interest of company appears to be positively influenced by trust. Employees who trust their supervisor tend to receive higher performance rating. People respond to mistrust by concealing information and secretly pursuing their own interests. Leading for the future, mentoring. Mentor is a senior employee who sponsors and supports a less experienced employee, a protege. Successful mentors are good teachers. They present ideas clearly, listen well, and empathize with protege problems. Mentoring relationships serve career functions like lobbying to get the protege challenging and feasible assignment, coaching the protege to help develop his or her skill and achieve her objective, providing exposure to influential individuals with the organization, protecting the protege from possible risks to his or her reputation, sponsoring the protege by nominating him or her for potential advance or promotions, and acting as a sounding board for ideas the protege might be hesitant to share with their supervisor, and psychological function like counseling the protege to bolster his or her self-confidence, sharing personal experience with the protege, providing friendship and acceptance, and acting as a role model. Traditional informal mentoring relationship develop when leaders identify a less experienced, lower-level employee who appears to have potential for future development. The protege is often tasked with a particularly challenging assignment. If he or she performs acceptably, the mentor will develop the relationship, informally showing the protege how the organization really works outside its formal structure and procedures. Why would a leader want to be a mentor? Many feel they have something to share with the younger generation and want to provide a legacy. Mentoring provides unfiltered access to the attitude of employees, and protege can be an excellent source of early warning signals that identify potential organization problems. Are all employees in an organization likely to participate in a mentoring relationship? Unfortunately, no. Mentor commitment is critical to program effectiveness. Mentor must see the relationship as a beneficial to themselves and the protege. The protege must feel he or she has input into the relationship. Someone who feels it's foisted on him or her will just go through the motions. Formal mentoring programs succeed if they appropriately match the work style, needs, and skill of protege and mentor. Mentor may be effective not because of the function they provide, but because of the resources they can be obtained. A mentor connected to a powerful network can build relationships that will help the protege advance. Network ties, whether built through the mentor or not, are a significant predictor of career success. If a mentor is not well connected or not a very strong performer, the best mentoring advice in the world will not be very beneficial. There are some challenges to the leadership construct. First, leadership as an attribution. Attribution theory of leadership is a leadership theory that says that leadership is merely an attribution that people make about other individuals. We attribute to leader intelligence, outgoing personality, strong verbal skills, aggressiveness, understanding, and industriousness. At the organizational level, we tend, rightly or wrongly, to see leaders are responsible for both extremely negative and extremely positive performance. Attribution theory suggests what's important is projecting the appearance of being a leader rather than focusing on actual accomplishment. Leader wannabes who can shape the perception that they are smart, personable, verbal adept, aggressive, hardworking, and consistent in their style can increase the probability their bosses, colleagues, and employees will view them as effective leaders. Second is substitutes for the neutrals of leadership. Substitutes as attributes such as experience and training that can replace the need for leader support or ability to create structure. Neutralizers as attributes that make it impossible for leader behavior to make any differences to followers' outcomes. It is simplistic to think employees are guided to goal accomplishment solely by the action of their leaders. Leadership is simply another independent variable in overall organizational behavior model. Sometimes the difference between substitutes and neutralizer is fuzzy. If I'm working on a task that intrinsically enjoyable, therapeutic leadership will be less important because the task provides motivation. But does that mean intrinsically enjoyable tasks neutralize leadership effect or substitutes for them or both? Another problem is that while substitutes for leadership matter to performance, that doesn't necessarily mean leadership doesn't. The third is online leadership. Today's manager and employees are increasingly linked by network rather than geographic proximity. We propose that online leaders have to think carefully about what action they want their digital message to initiate. They confront unique challenge, the greatest of which appears to be developing and maintaining trust, identification-based trust, based on mutual understanding of each other's intention and appreciation of the other's wants and desires is particularly difficult to achieve without face-to-face interaction. Online negotiation can also be hindered because parties express lower level of trust. We believe good leadership skills will soon include the ability to communicate, support, trust, and inspiration through electronic communication and to accurately read emotion in others' message. In electronic communication, writing skills are likely to become an extension of interpersonal skill. And the last, finding and creating effective leaders. First is selecting leaders. The process organization goes through to fill management position is an exercise in the identification of effective leaders. You might begin by reviewing the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed to the job effectively. Personality tests can identify traits associated with leadership, extraversion, conscientiousness, and openness to experience. High self-monitor are better at reading situations and adjusting their behavior accordingly. Candidates with high emotion intelligence should have an advantage, especially in situations requiring transformational leadership. Experience is a poor prediction of leaders' effectiveness, but situation-specific experience is relevant. Because nothing lasts forever, the most important event an organization needs to plan for is a change in leadership. Second is training leaders. How can managers get the most from their leadership training budget? First, leadership training is likely to be more successful with high self-monitors. Such individuals have the flexibility to change their behavior. Second, organization can teach implementation skills. Third, we can teach skills such as trust building and mentoring. Leaders can be taught situational analysis skill. They can learn how to evaluate situations, modify them to better fit their style, and assess which leaders' behavior might be most effective in given situation. And last is behavioral training through modeling exercise can increase an individual's ability to exhibit charismatic leadership qualities. Leaders should engage in regularly reviewing their leadership after key organizational events as part of their development. These after-event reviews are especially effective for leaders who are high in conscientiousness and openness to experience and who are emotionally stable. I think that's all for today. Thank you for your attention and have a good day.